Welcome everyone, Dylan Gemelli here today with a brand new video for you, and today I'm going to give you the ultimate SARMS cutting stack. And this is going to be a controversial one, and that's great. That's what we want. We want to talk, and this is going to get some people talking. But before we get into that, just a big, huge shout out and thank you to everybody supporting the channel. You guys are absolutely amazing. I can't thank you enough. Everybody out there, if you haven't yet, please like, sub, share, and most of all, subscribe. We got to get the channel growing, and all of those things are going to feed the algorithm, and it's going to help the channel grow, which is going to allow me to produce more and more content for everybody. So, that being said, let's talk about this one. And as I said, this is going to be controversial, but you have to listen and hear me out before we just snap judgment. Okay, because there's going to be 5 compounds used in this cycle, all right? GW501516, SR9009, and you could sub either one of those out with 0742 on the GW or SR9011, RAD140 or 150, ACP105, and S4. Now let me explain. Somebody's going to go, 5 compounds, end of the world. No, this is extremely light. There's a S23 on its own could be argued to be more harsh or stronger than this combination. And definitely if you're stacking S23 with one other SARM, especially if it's like YK11 or LGD 3303, for example, would just be extremely, extremely stronger than what we're talking about here. Look, we all know GW and SR, any of the 4 that I mentioned, are non-hormonal, non-suppressive, non-toxic. GW0742 is the only one that really has any sort of possible side effect, with the possibility of the enlarged heart, which I spoke about in that video. But other than that, these are compounds that you're going to have no side effects with. So right then and there off the jump, there's 2 that you can just kind of really toss aside in terms of, well, I mean, there's nothing to really, really, truly, honestly get into any sort of worry about. In fact, if anything, they're going to be extremely beneficial here because of, as we know, GW on its own is literally used to help treat cholesterol and to improve blood pressure. So if there was any toxicity here, which there's not, aside from the small, minute possibility with RAD 140 or 150, there's none. There's no worry for blood pressure increase as long as you have authentic SARMs. So, okay. Then we've got S4 and ACP 105. If you watch my video with the SARMs with the lowest or least side effects, both are on that list. Both are very, very mildly suppressive. ACP 105 is so well tolerated, and S4, aside from the vision aspect that we've talked about before, which is not permanent and really doesn't affect nearly as many people as once thought, the suppression is very light and minimal on those. So the one argument is RAD 140, which is moderate. It's not extremely highly suppressive. It's not so low that I could say it's so light. It's kind of in between. But in terms of side effects with that, you're not going to... The one thing that some people have said is they've had some hair loss with it. But that is... If you were on a 100% scale, I'd put that more in like the 15 to 20% of user range, if that. And then there could possibly be a little bit of increase in liver values and cholesterol, but that, once again, I've never personally had that happen. I've seen some people post about it, and I've also had plenty of people that I've coached with blood work that never had any sort of issue like that whatsoever. I think it comes down to the dosing and the quality, and some people just react a little bit differently. But we're talking about 5 compounds here, but we're talking about 5 that are very, very, very low, if that, on the side effect chart. So right then and there, I can dispel any concern or kickback on, him and his big stacks and this and that. Everybody that knows me, that's followed me for however many years, knows that I'm often accused of being far too conservative, called names and whatever people do. Tough guys behind computers that do those things, that want to, say these things about me being too conservative or moderate. But then I'll post something like this, and then I'll get the kickback of, he's out of his mind, or he's trying to get you to run all this. No, I'm not. I rationally just broke down why it's actually quite light. Now, and let's talk about how we run this and what to expect. This is an ultimate cutting cycle, but we're attacking it from all angles. So we've got your GW501516, 20 milligrams a day. All right, once a day. It's a longer half-life, so all you need to do is do once a day. was 0742, exact same 20 milligrams a day, once a day. So you know what you're getting with that. You're getting your increases in endurance, your ability to burn more fat, an increase in metabolism, help with your cholesterol, help with your blood pressure. GW is like a holy grail for athletes. 0742 carries a lot of the same similarities. Some people say it's a stronger version. I would argue that that's not valid, but then again, I'm not using it because of the possibility with the enlarged heart. So, but from what I've seen with most, there are a few people that claim that it's superior out there, but most people that I know that I trust well don't see much of a difference there. SR 9009. Oh, and this is a 12-week cycle, by the way. SR 9009 is going to be in that 30 milligram per day range. Some people want to go 20 with it. I like to keep it at 30. I feel like that's where you get the most out of it, but to each their own. It's a very short half-life, so at the minimum, you want to do 3 doses of 10 milligrams, keep them about 4 to 5 hours apart. 9011, same exact method. All right, 30 milligrams a day. You can keep the doses, spread apart like that. But once again, what is SR 9009 or 11 doing? Helping. The major focus of that is your metabolism. It's helping to correct metabolic disorders. It's helping to speed up your metabolism. So you're getting that along with endurance benefits and fat loss benefits. That's exactly what GW and SR are mainly used for and mainly known for. Then we've got your S4. 50 milligrams a day, split doses, 4 to 6 hours apart, 25 milligrams, 25 milligrams. It's a much shorter half-life. And if you can split it down into 3 doses, even better. And it's easier to obviously do that if you have some liquid SARMs that you can measure. Otherwise, you're stuck with like a capsule and you're just stuck. So it's a lot harder to manipulate the dosing. But S4, lean muscle gain, vascularity, strength. Look, the more lean muscle we get, the more fat we lose. And S4 is just so perfectly ideal for that because you don't want to just attempt to lose so much weight and lose muscle in the process. So we've got these other SARMs that are still going to burn fat but also increase lean muscle. So we're going to just go about this as strong as we possibly can and cover all the angles on it. All right? Then we've got ACP 105. Once again, a much shorter half-life, 20 milligrams a day at the minimum. Split the doses in 2, but if you can pop it off into 3, you could go up to 30 milligrams a day. I don't necessarily say that you need to, and especially when you're stacking 5 compounds, you might want to keep it, right at that level. But you could, and it's not going to be so terribly harsh on you at all. Split the doses into 3s, very similar to S4 and what it does. I feel it's a little bit stronger than S4. More strength, more muscle hardening. Vascularity is pretty close. Hard to argue there. But ACP 105, again, more on the mild side. Then we've got RAD 140 or RAD 150. Now, the main difference on these is it's esterified. So you could argue that you could take RAD 150 every other day. I still prefer to go every day, but 20 to 30 milligrams a day of each one. Their half-life is 24 hours, so you only got to do those once a day or once every other day if you go the 150 route and want to do that. If you do go every other day, though, I would bump the dose up to like 40 milligrams or 50 because you're not obviously dosing on the day in between, and you would want this per day. But RAD 140 is the one that you could say is a little bit more on the moderate side on the side effects. It's not so light, but it's not so drastic either. And I covered the different things that you would possibly have to worry about with it. But it is RAD 140. Watch my video on Is That the New King of SARMs? And it explains to you everything there is to know about it. So I'm not going to repeat that because I'm sure most of you have seen that. But if you haven't, check that video out. Look, it's probably, well, it is. Certainly you do not compare this to Trenbolone, but when I say that it's the Trenbolone of SARMs, what I mean is it's the most well-rounded and can do the most. I'm certainly not comparing it to fucking Tren, okay? But if you were looking at it in the SARMs world, that would kind of be the Tren of the SARMs world in terms of what it could do without all the nasty side effects. It does it all. Strength, endurance, fat loss, lean muscle gain. You could bulk with it. You could cut with it. You could recomp with it. You can do it all. It's perfect in this cycle because it does to increase your endurance and it will help with fat loss and you're going to gain lean muscle in the process. So this cycle is absolutely just the ultimate cutting cycle. Now for PCT, you really only need a mini PCT with this. If you want to go with Clomid and Novadex both, by all means, go ahead. You really only need one. Watch my video on SARMS PCTs that'll really break them down and get into it closely with you. I have that video specifically made because I got so many questions about SARMS PCTs, and it tells you when to run a full one and when to run a mini one and what needs to be involved in each PCT. So definitely check those out. Then it comes down to quality. I did a video on my what we rated our best favorite SARMS companies out there. If you haven't seen that, watch that. But it's Umbrella Labs and SARMS for sale. Their web address is it's sarms.forsale, because people always ask me and get a little confused on that. So those are the two companies that I recommend, where I can tell you with certainty I know that you're going to get quality. They're not the only places that you can go, but when people ask me who I trust the most, I can say without a shadow of a doubt it's those two, and I explain why in the video that I made. But that is the ultimate SARMS cutting cycle. I gave you all the reasons why it's actually quite light in comparison to other things you can run and why it's so effective. So hope everybody takes a lot from this and enjoys it. And that being said, stay tuned for plenty more to come. Dylan Gemelli signing off.